Hey everyone, welcome to Optimus Fantasy. Today we're looking at rookie risers and fallers post NFL draft. Stay tuned for all the details you need to know for your fantasy team. Welcome everybody. I'm Mike Vidala, joined by my co-host Cam White and our guest today, Nate Povil. Today we're going to be talking about rookie risers and fallers and how we plan to approach them for fantasy football. Uh, Nate, we're going to start with you today. We're going to get right into it talking about Jeremiah Love. First of all, how you doing? And second of all, how do you feel about Jeremiah Love after he fell 103 to the Arizona Cardinals?
It's an interesting situation, Mike. I'm doing great. The draft's over. We finally have landing spots for these guys. Cam and I just wrote a massive article kind of breaking down this whole class all 3 days. But the guys we're going to talk about today, like Jeremiah Love, are people whose value maybe changed a little bit with their draft slots. And that with Jeremiah Love, it's just curious, guys. They just signed Tyler Algier. They brought back James Conner. They've got Trey Benson, who was a third-round pick just a couple years ago. This is a team that's rolling out with Jacoby Brissett, Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't see where he necessarily fits in an offense that, I mean, let's be honest, how many times did we see Jacoby Brissett throw the ball 50 times last year? It dinks his value for me. And I know third-round draft capital, guys, but I have a hard time believing that he's going to see enough volume, at least in year one, with this backfield, that he's going to be what we want him to be. This feels a lot like an Ashton Genty situation from last season.
Absolutely. And you can hope for some of that PPR ability if they do go into the pass heavy thing. But it's just not it's not like an ideal situation with all those running backs to compete with. Nate, coming right back to you on this one. How do you feel about Carnell Tate landing with the Tennessee Titans?
So this one I feel like is a little bit opposite. The reason I wanted to talk about him is because I've seen people down on this landing spot, and I understand it. And we did kind of talk about this a little bit, Cam and I, on the mock draft show yesterday. People don't like the fact that he's being paired up with Cam Ward in an offense they're really unsure about. This is a new staff. It's going to be a new scheme. I'm not worried about it because Carnell Tate is the type of wide receiver that I believe can make Cam Ward a better quarterback. I think he in general can make this offense better. Plus, who's he competing with, guys? The ghost of Calvin Ridley, Elick Eomanor. There just isn't much there. Gunnar Helm. They let Chigakonkwo go. So I think people are low on him, and it's fine. I'm going to buy the dip if he's falling in some of these rookie drafts, which we're not seeing yet, but we're hearing chatter. And I think as we get farther into the rookie draft season, we're going to see him fall.
I'm still all over Carnell Tate myself as well. I've got a couple guys I'm going to talk about, but we're going to go out of order here and go over to Cam. Cam, how do you feel about Jadarian Price? And also, how you doing today?
I'm doing great today. My Toronto Raptors are playing tomorrow, and we just evened the series up at 2-2 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, Spencer German, if you are watching and listening, hit me back in our chat because the Raptors are coming for you, bud. Jadarian Price landed with the Seattle Seahawks, and I really like that landing spot. He's going to be able to get that year one bump at the start of the season where he's going to get probably the majority of the touches until Zach Charbonnet is back. Charbonnet probably isn't going to be back until midway through the season, and they're likely going to work him back slowly as he recovers from that ACL injury. Jadarian Price, we didn't really get to see a lot of pass catching abilities from him, but he is adept at running in between the tackles, has enough speed to get out wide. So if you're looking for a running back, I would probably start targeting him around like the back end of round one. I think as early as like the 107, 108 is where I would consider him if I really needed a running back and I'm a contending roster. But if you're not a contending roster, I think it's fine to wait on Jadarian Price. If he's there at the 201 and you earn that 201, like sure, you can take him, but just know that there's a chance as soon as Charbonnet comes back, it's really a 50-50 split. And those running backs last year, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, both averaged around like 11 half PPR points per game. So just know that there's not going to be immense upside as soon as they return to a two-back setup.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I do think Jadarian Price is better than George Holani. And I love the West Irondequoit High School shout out to Spencer German, awesome Cleveland sports writer. So you can go check him out because we're not going to talk about KC Concepcion or Denzel Boston on today's show. However, we are going to talk about the 13th overall pick, Ty Simpson, to the Los Angeles Rams. This guy's on my do not draft list in Dynasty. I just think you're taking on so much risk. He's not going to give you any value in 2026. And even if he makes it onto the field next year, what is he really going to be for you? Especially in a one QB league, you can get guys off the waiver wire that are gonna give you that value. So do not waste your rookie draft picks on Ty Simpson, unless you're maybe super flex. And once you get into the late second or third round, and you do have a taxi squad, that's maybe the one situation where I'm okay with Ty Simpson. But for me, he's on my do not draft list. Um, Going on to the 20th overall pick, Makai Lemon to the Philadelphia Eagles. I love this pick, and it solidifies him as my wide receiver 2 in this year's class. I think the lack of a murky injury history compared to Jordan Tyson and a better offense than the Saints really are putting out there with Hurts, Devonta Smith, Saquon Barkley. They also added Eli Stowers. I really think that's a really nice spot for Makai Lemon, and he's going to be in more red zone opportunities, in more opportunities to score. So love Makai Lemon as my wide receiver too, although
Mike,
it is up for debate. What's up, Nate?
Yeah, the one thing I will say, and like I hear what you're saying about Makai Lemon, my one concern is if they retain AJ Brown. He gets completely lost in an offense. It also has Stowers, Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith. So that would be my only concern. But otherwise, I mean, if AJ Brown goes the way of the Buffalo or Buffaloes or wherever the hell he ends up, I'm all in on Makai Lemon. But I need to see that happen first for year one for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, it's interesting you bring that up because everybody seems to have like written in stone AJ Brown to the New England Patriots. But I'm just going to say this, people in that organization don't seem to be super committed. And so, that could include AJ Brown or could include other things. So just going to throw that one out there. At the 30th pick in the NFL draft, we've got Omar Cooper Jr. I really like him as a late back at end of the first round draft pick in your rookie drafts. He's a high risk, high reward option. I really think he can develop into a nice player. He can work his way up to the number 2 target in this passing offense. He's not quite as electric as KC Concepcion, but he does have more reliable hands, which is an evergreen skill in the NFL. All right, we're going to move on to day 2 here. We're going to play a little bit of this or that. I'm going to toss it back and forth to you guys here. So, Nate, who do you like better, DeJon Stribling or Denzel Boston?
Oh, this is tough because they're both really interesting landing spots. I'm going to go. I think Denzel Boston has more opportunity to become the wide receiver 1 in that offense in Cleveland. I don't think that Stribling has that opportunity right now or will ever really, honestly, in the Shanahan system in San Francisco.
Yep. Sticking with you, Nate, here because I know you love tight ends. I'm going to go with who do you like better, Eli Stowers or Max Clare?
I'm going to say Stowers. I like him in that Philly offense. I think it's just a massively better fit than Clare.
Yeah, I think I gave you a couple easy ones there. We'll give you some harder stuff later on. All right, Cam, I want you to tell me, I know which one of these guys you like better, but tell me, who do you like better, Jeremy Bernard and Antonio Williams? And you can stick around and go a little more in depth in which one of those guys you like better.
Okay, yeah. I liked Jeremy Bernard when we were scouting guys for the Senior Bowl, but as soon as I watched Antonio Williams tape, it was pretty clear to me that he is a more dynamic wide receiver, doesn't have the problems at the catch point. So in this or that, I'm going to go with Antonio Williams. He landed on the Washington Commanders, and they really don't have much else in their wide receiver room or their tight end room, to be honest. So there's a lot of targets up for grabs, and I think Antonio Williams is able to pull those in. He's a dynamic wide receiver that can move around the formation, can work at all 3 levels and beating defense in man and zone coverage. And then once he has the ball in his hands, he's actually very dynamic. He's tough to bring down. He runs with a low center of gravity. He's able to use some hand fighting on his routes to gain separation, but he also has fantastic route running skills. He can break off his routes in 1 to 2 steps on ins and outs. So he's just a guy that I'm going to be targeting likely in the back end of round 1. And if he's there at the beginning of round 2, I'm also taking shots on Antonio Williams. I think this is one of the better landing spots in the NFL draft for fantasy value.
Absolutely. I am way further in on Antonio Williams than I was going into this NFL draft. Nate, I'm going to ask you about a couple guys that went back-to-back in the NFL draft. At the 310, we had Malachi Fields, or at the 311, we had Caleb Douglas. Which one of those guys do you like better?
I like Malachi Fields. I like the landing spot. Malachi Fields is very talented, guys. We saw him at the Senior Bowl. We saw how he uses his size to create separation rather than relying on speed. He cleaned up some of that route issue, some of those route issues we saw between the Senior Bowl and the Combine. Malachi Fields is a guy who I think should be climbing draft boards. He's a guy I'm not afraid to take in the late second round of a rookie draft if he comes up. Like him much more than Caleb Douglas, which I didn't know that I would necessarily think, but here we are.
And he played for the best looking coach in college football. So
True.
That doesn't hurt you.
That's true.
We're going to take a little pause from our game here so I can talk about my guy that I've been hyping up all off season. I hate calling him my guy. Drew Aller. And you know what? It was very vindicating to see this guy go in the third round because I've been planting my flag. Not that that Drew Aller is going to be like your great rookie pick that's going to come onto the scene and light it up or anything, but just that we were counting him so out. I mean, some people were projecting him undrafted early on this offseason. And I'm always going to stick my feet in the ground and stick up for these guys that 1 year ago were like the number one prospect undisputed. And Drew Aller was that guy a couple years ago. People were very excited for him to come out, him and Carson Beck, who also went in the third round. So I just want to really throw it out there that if you do have a taxi squad availability, I like Drew Aller every bit as much as Ty Simpson, who's going to be a lot more expensive. So love Drew Aller here. We're going to get back to some this or that here. Nate, who do you want in fantasy football drafts? Would you rather have Jacoby Lane going to Baltimore or Zachariah Branch in Atlanta?
Oh, I'm not a fan of wide receivers in Baltimore, man. I got bit by Rashad Bateman, and then I got bit by Zay Flowers a little bit. So yeah, I can't go Jacoby Lane here. There's just no way.
Yep, we're gonna have a new look in Baltimore this year, but you're right. They've just really not shown much. Yeah.
Well, they don't. The thing is what's never going to change in Baltimore is that they run the ball. You've got Derrick Henry, you've got Lamar Jackson. This is never going to be a pass happy offense. If we see Lamar get 4,000 yards, that's a good season for Lamar Jackson throwing the ball. Zachariah Branch, I think in a different offense, different style. We don't know who's going to be the quarterback, but whoever it is, they can rely on Branch. I think he's just flat out going to see more volume in that offense.
I agree about the volume. And if you really have to break a tie, I mean, Zachariah Branch is going to play half of his games in a dome, and Jacoby Lane is going to play half of his games in Baltimore, Maryland. So that's something that's worth noting. Cam, who do you like better here? Chris Brazzell going to the Carolina Panthers or Ted Hurst going to Tampa Bay?
I was a big Chris Brazzell non-believer, but I actually really like his landing spot in Carolina. I like Ted Hurst as well going into the Senior Bowl. I thought that he needed to improve some of his physicality on his route running. But then he landed in a great spot at Tampa Bay where he's not going to be the number one option, and he's probably not going to see the best cornerbacks. So I actually like Ted Hurst in this scenario. I think there's just some gimmicky stuff the Tennessee offense does where they spread out the field and create these like designed looks for Brazzell to be productive, where Ted Hurst was getting like the number one DB on him all throughout his college career. So give me Ted Hurst.
Absolutely. Can I give myself one, guys?
Yeah, go for it.
Here, tell you what. Like better. Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Nate. You want to give it to me?
Yeah, I'll give it to you. I get to pick. We're gonna go Emmett Johnson landing in Kansas City or Mike Washington landing in Las Vegas.
Ooh, okay. A couple of nice handcuff options here. Oh man, Emmett Johnson or Mike Washington. I really believe in Emmett Johnson. The production he had was fantastic. And I just think like competing with Ken Walker, despite Ken Walker being a great running back, Ashton Genty was really a generational talent coming into the NFL. And it's just going to be really hard to compete with. So I'm going to go with Johnson here of those two. I wanted to quickly talk about the last two skill positions in the third round that we're taking because I think these guys could be sneaky values. So let me toss this one to you, Nate. These are two different positions. Kalen Black, running back drafted to the 49ers, or Chris Bell, wide receiver drafted to the Miami Dolphins.
I think Chris Bell. In that Miami offense. I just think there's more opportunity with Malik Willis at quarterback. They're going to throw the ball around a little bit more because what do they have to lose? So Chris Bell for me.
Definitely. That wide receiver one row in Miami is just wide open. Kalen Black, not a bad, honestly, like late round redraft value might not be terrible just in that like handcuff to CMC kind of a thing. And it's a Shanahan
Yeah.
offense and they're
Anything outside
he's
of a
good at
handcuff for
offense.
Kalen Black, though, I mean, you can't really trust it.
Right. Like you don't want him in dynasty because you don't want to hold this guy onto this guy
Right.
for like 5 years. Yeah, I
Exactly.
get you there for sure. All right. Real quick, let's do this lightning fast. Cam, Brennan Thompson or Elijah Surratt?
Elijah Surratt, put him in a big slot role in Baltimore and let this man cook.
Okay. Nate, we're going to rerun one of these. Jonah Coleman or your guy, Mike Washington?
Jonah Coleman, better situation in Denver by far. I mean, there's a chance we know Dobbins is fragile. We could see Jonah Coleman taking a lead role in that offense at any point this season.
Yeah, I forgot Jonah Coleman's kind of your guy too now, being in
Yeah.
Denver. All right, Cam, Bryce Lance or Colby Young?
Bryce Lance, I think he's got a lot of work to do, but love anybody in a Kellen Moore offense. I think that he's going to have a dynamic offense in New Orleans this year. So I think Bryce Lance could be that deep threat that we saw Rashid Shaheed thrive in the previous years.
Yeah, nice ceiling with Bryce Lance and Colby Young. Nobody's beating out Jamar Chase and T. Higgins for those two top wide receiver roles. All right, Cam, talk to me a little bit about my new favorite Buffalo Bill, Skylar Bell.
Yeah, so I know I stole this one from you, but I've done a lot of research into Skylar Bell. This is a guy that went over 100 catches last year, and 100 catches in college is extremely difficult to do. He dominated the target share in UConn, and it's clear to see why he had so many targets and receptions. He is a fantastic route runner, can run routes at all three levels of the field. You can put him on the boundary, and he can win outside. When with the ball in his hands, he's extremely dynamic. He has great run after the catch ability. He's more physical than you would expect him to be. I know coming out of this week, there was actually a comp of Jamar Chase light given to Skylar Bell. Now, I think that's a pretty egregious comp to give him. But I mean, I guess I can kind of see it if I squint a little bit. And then when you look at this Buffalo offense, like everybody was out on DJ Moore last year, right? Like we were ready to anoint Rome Odunze and Luther Burden by the end of the season. Now suddenly we're all back in on DJ Moore with the Bills. And I get it. He's probably going to be the wide receiver one and dominate the targets there this year. But like, let's not forget that he could not. There could be a rise over the course of the year where Skylar Bell is really Josh Allen's preferred target. And I don't think there's another guy on this roster that is like a surefire wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 prospect. So I like Skylar Bell. I'm going to be reaching for him. I saw you reach for him in the first round of a rookie draft today. I think you took him 107 or 108, which I thought was a little high, but I know you didn't have any other picks in that draft and you had to go get your guy.
Yeah, it was my only pick in that draft. I do have Josh Allen on that team. I'm wide receiver needy. And you know what? I just kind of wanted to have some fun with a pick. Sometimes you want to do that. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, so grabbing Skylar Bell there, you know what? It did make me feel better. That's a league with some industry guys. And I made some of them a little bit upset when I took him. So that made me feel pretty good about the pick, for sure.
I'll say this as well. He was my wide receiver 6 or 7, I believe, pre-draft. I had him right after KC Concepcion. So, like, if he would have gone a little bit earlier in the draft or to a team where he clearly could be that wide receiver 1, I would have no problem taking him there in the first round. I think that was a good value for you, even if it takes a couple years for him to turn out fantasy points.
Absolutely. All right, we got to go fast through the rest of these guys. What do you guys think? I think we were trying to keep today short, a little bit shorter. We got things to do today. So, all right, just this or that through the rest of this. All right, Nate, Reggie Virgil or Justin Jolie?
Justin Jolie, I love the situation in Denver. I think he's going to fill that Joker role that we thought Evan Ingram was going to fill last season.
Yep. Emmett Johnson or Nick Singleton? Cam?
Nick Singleton, easier path to being the RB1 on his team.
Yep, that's a change in our rankings, I believe, as well. Definitely. Cam, we'll stick with you. Cyrus Allen or Kevin Coleman?
Ooh, I love both of these guys. I think Cyrus Allen is a slightly better wide receiver, route running wise, than Kevin Coleman. So I'm going to go Cyrus Allen. He also gets that KC bump.
All righty. Nate, let's say you're at the mid-third round and you need to make a pick. Are you going with Adam Randall or Taylon Green?
You know, I'm going to take a dart throw on Taylon Green because it's Cleveland, and I think there's a chance he starts, and if he does, that's just fun, and I want shares of that if he actually gets rolled out this season.
Absolutely. Cam, I know you like Lewis Bond. Would you rather have Lewis Bond or Katron Allen?
Katron Allen. I was a big Lewis Bond fan, but he's really just buried on that Houston Texans offense. So I think it's time we put that to bed.
He didn't get that Miami landing spot you wanted either.
So I know. I really thought Hafley was going to go get his guy that he brought into BC, but the Texans ended up going with him. So yeah, give me Katron Allen. I think there's a chance he wins that backfield. Washington really doesn't have anybody established there. So it's just kind of wide open.
All right. I think we need to boost him on Claiborne and compare him to somebody much earlier. So, Nate, what do you think? Would you rather have DeMont Claiborne in Minnesota or Emmett Johnson?
I'm going to go Claiborne. I think he has a more direct path to actually getting ball. I mean, what do they really have there, right? Mm-hmm. I could see him getting a 50-50 split by midseason.
Right now. He is the sleeper in drafts right now. I love DeMont Claiborne. All right, let's wrap things up here. We've got these last seventh round guys. Nate, which one of these guys do you want to talk about?
In the 7th round, I kind of wanted to talk about Eli Heidenreich just because it's a cool story. Like going to Pittsburgh, his hometown, 7th round pick, their last pick of the draft. He gets the standing ovation on stage, which I just thought was really cool. Plus, I think he's a guy that could easily fit in as like a slot receiver and be far more successful than his 7th round draft capital. He's a guy that I'm probably going to grab in the 4th round of drafts just for the hell of it because it's fun. And what else are you doing in the 4th round of these drafts, especially this year?
Absolutely. And, we like to do our side bets on these shows. We didn't have one pre-prepared, but I kind of got one for us right now. So we've got a Denver Broncos fan and Nate. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. Cam, are you a newly anointed Seattle Seahawks fan?
Yes, I am, Mike.
Why don't we say whichever one of our teams finishes this year with the worst record has to go on a 1 mile run. What do you think?
Sign me up. 1 mile, easy.
Well, okay. But you're not going to be the one running. It's going to be Mike.
Well, you know what? I think I can do it. So
I believe in you.
I love it. All right, a little side bet. We got to write that one down for later. Save it for later, folks. We're gonna see who's running the mile at the end of this football season. It's gonna be a while from now. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for sticking with us to the end of the show. Stick around and stay subscribed to the channel. And make sure you check out Optimus Fantasy Tools. And actually, do we have an ad read from Smokey for this?
Yeah, before we get out of here, I can toss that bad boy up here.
Yeah, let's check that.
I'm Smokey Hell Nelson. Have you heard about our Lord and Savior, Optimus Fantasy? Lord over your leagues with the Savior Fantasy Tools at OptimusFantasy.com. Don't believe me? Check this.
Mo leagues, no problem. Optimus has you covered with league management tools for any league size on any provider with built-in trade analyzers.
A little blasphemous, maybe, but I mean, hell's my middle name. And I'll be damned if these aren't the best tools on the market, so get your ass to OptimusFantasy.com.
I love that. And in the headphones, Smokey did some crazy panning on that. That sounds awesome. So listen to the podcast with headphones, guys. Get that good audio quality up. I want to say thanks again to my co-host Cam and our guest Nate. And yeah, I thought that was a great show, you guys. I hope everybody has a great week, and we will be back with more rookie analysis. And don't forget to check out the website for Cam and Nate and Lou and the rest of our team's awesome work. Thanks, everybody, and have a wonderful day.